Morning, Amanda.
Yeah.
Some days are
Can
better than other days.
hey,
Hmm.
can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
can't
Okay,
see you.
my camera is wonky. I got out once and came back in and it worked for a little bit. And now it shows that I have camera, but I'm black. So
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, we know you're there. It says Mary Lou Platt on our screen. Okay. So we're going to start on this few week series. And as we begin, I want to have you call to mind a little bit that Sharon sent to us. The what Church Anew has to say about this series. What that is, we experience the devastating power of evil in so many ways. Yet, in the face of a myriad of streams of news and commentary, it can be hard to point directly at a villain without shutting others' ears. By exploring villains in the Bible, we can create a kind of pattern recognition for discerning evil in the world. In learning this skill, we can then reflect on how God and or God's people respond to the abuses of power with transformative love and liberation. So with that sort of as an overarching theme, I thought about a couple of questions in for this particular story, and I think for all of these villain stories. What is the nature of the evil or the villain in this story? What is the interaction of the actors? So in this story, it would be Adam and Eve and the villain. What is God's role? And you see a pattern developing for discerning evil in the world. So that it's a little early yet since this is our first shot at this, but I kind of want us to think about that as we read all of these passages. Can we see a pattern developing? And what might that be? Okay. And then I picked up Genesis for normal people again because it's got some good stuff to say about about Genesis and even so we'll get to all of that. That's sort of the meta piece. So we're going to kind of start with the micro piece. So let's Sharon wants to say something. Do you want to say something?
Oh, nothing. Even this very brief first reading just brought forth some other questions that kind of go along with yours
Yeah,
for
so let's
me.
um we should kind of each keep a little bit of a list of
Mhm.
questions and that how we want to what we want to ask the text as we continue along because I think that's what will make this conversation rich. So let's begin with reading this out. Genesis 3, 1 through 7. It's not a lot of Genesis in the but it's enough. So who's got that ready to roll?
I
I can
do.
read it. Okay, you go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, please, you.
Okay. I have my old Bible from when I was a kid, 1967. So I just found it because I couldn't find my other one. But this one's New King James Version. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, ye, ye shall not eat of every tree in the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the gardens, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons.
Then
Apron.
the man,
That's tough to read, the old version.
They made themselves aprons.
Mhm.
then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day. They hid from the Lord among the trees of the garden. But the Lord called to the man, "Where are you?" He answered, "I heard you in the garden, but I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And he said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" The man said, "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it."
It's her
Then the
fault.
Lord God said to the woman, "What is this you have done?"
Mhm. The serpent
Is that
tricked.
where we stop?
Yeah, we can stop there. The serpent tricked me, and I ate. Okay.
It's his fault.
Okay. So,
I didn't do anything.
really, yeah.
It's her fault.
So
Well,
how
there's,
do we?
I have a commentary in here,
Yeah.
and they said this is the first case in recorded history of passing the buck.
Passing.
Yes.
So how
I
do
think
we?
we should go on with the next few passages.
Well, this is what we're looking at right now. So,
Wayne, your phone is ringing.
you know, I don't want us to fall into, overused tropes, and to fall into, hearing this in the same old way we've always heard it, whatever that might be. Um, that's why I think the questions are really important to help us, to see how we reflect on what's God's role, what's God maybe pointing us to. Sharon?
Well, and I, when I sent this out, and then when I read it, I was wondering because the reading for today is actually only verses 1 through 7,
Mhm.
which stops with the making of the fig leaf loincloths.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's just so bizarre to
Mhm.
stop there.
Yeah.
But actually, it's not because it makes you focus
Yeah.
on good and evil. It's the tree that makes you be able to discern between good and evil. And what's God's point of not wanting people to be discerning
Yeah.
between good and evil?
Yeah.
And also, verse 6. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, is being able to tell the difference between good and evil, what makes you wise,
Mhm.
and
That's
what if you choose evil anyway?
Right.
Yeah.
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 So those are my questions.
Yeah. Lots there's way more questions than there are answers in this. Jane. Yeah.
For to tag on to what Sharon is saying about it, kind of narrows the focus of the reading. I did it strike you that the snake is not identified as evil? The snake is identified as cunning
Yeah.
and
Cunning,
crafty,
That's interesting.
and as Gail just read, subtle.
Ugh.
I
Yeah.
love that. I wrote that down. Subtle is such a good word.
And I've always used seductive.
Ooh,
Mm.
there you go.
Yeah, because this
And how,
this
go
isn't
ahead.
this isn't easy. I mean, this isn't this it might in the black and white print feel black and white. This is absolutely not. It is
So is the
Eve was
serpent
very naive.
well,
yeah
there you go. Yeah, Anetta, yeah.
is then Eve the serpent was really just a messenger of evil.
Mhm.
There you go.
Is the serpent I mean, is the serpent evil incarnate? I
I
don't
don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think the serpent is the messenger.
Mhm.
Mm.
And but that even saying something like that has
Mhm.
lots of ramification
Yeah.
for responsibility, etc. And Wonky?
Well, I just had a question that came up with me when we said serpent is kind of in the translation kind of neutral. Where did we get the idea of cord of the serpent equaling the devil or Satan?
Yeah,
I don't
where
know
did
where
we get that idea?
Yeah.
it says the serpent says the serpent, and he just sort of appears out of nowhere, but the serpent says,
Yeah. Where did
and
we
I have a thing down here, a commentary. The Near Eastern belief in the snake's immortality that's comes along, and yeah, it doesn't say anything about him being Satan at that point, although he gets a punishment later on. So yeah, it says rather God's warning may have been a figurative expression for serious consequences of any kind.
Yeah. I do want to throw in what our friend Peter Enns and Jared Bias had to say about this. So I'm referring to this book, Genesis for Normal People. Some of you have this
Mhm.
Yeah.
book, and I reread the pages 34, 35, 36, 37, and they really do have I mean they help us to think about how evil might work and what the purpose might be for this. So these two scholars tell us that Adam is Israel in this story. That Adam is Israel. Okay. And that he also says that Adam and Eve in this story are young, naive children who were meant to grow into obedience, but who were tricked into following a different path. I mean, how familiar is that, right?
Mhm.
All our kids that we worry about.
Yeah, how familiar is that? And then they say, knowing the difference between good and evil is the point of the law in the Old Testament. Knowing the difference between good and evil. So this knowing the difference is important in here. And what they write is that knowing right from wrong, knowing wisdom from foolishness is what was expected of Israel. And to gain that knowledge, they needed to learn to obey God. Adam and Eve were fools. They spurned God's instruction and took the shortcut to get what was intended. I don't know
I
where
like that idea. Took shortcut.
the last part of that sentence went. More of that sentence. Yeah.
And how often do we do that?
So
To me,
how does evil, how do you kind of think about evil and I mean, and the villain. I mean, this particular focus is about the villain. So go ahead,
but
Sharon.
who is the villain?
Were you going to say something, Sharon?
Well, Yeah. Um, the Adam story, according to Anne Zembias, at the bottom of page 36, is a preview of Israel's story, a story of possession of land being tied to obedience to God.
Yes. Yes.
And I mean, we kind of see that playing out right now.
Yeah.
And what is obedience to God? At the top of page 39, they
Mhm.
say obedience to God is the prerequisite for knowing good and evil. And it's interesting. I had a conversation with a friend yesterday, and we were talking about Israel and whether or not people are just bad or whether we actually need to um, acknowledge that there is evil in the world and that some people are just evil.
So that's a good question.
Mhm.
So if the snake was a tool or a messenger of evil, is part of it that some people choose evil and go that way, and some people choose not to be evil, but the evil is outside of us, part of the decision we make, and that then it changes us. And I keep thinking of the Lord's Prayer where, and I prefer the newer version of save us from the time of trial and deliver us from evil. So if we are not delivered from evil, if we don't lean into God or into goodness, then are we opening ourselves to be used by evil? Or is evil incarnate in some humans? I mean, I'm just talking.
Mm.
It's a really interesting topic.
How does that work? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can I, yeah, that I agree. And that whole part, when our grandsons in the Arlington were baptized in the Missouri Synod Church, that whole point about, and I think they use the older book. I look at these little, they are evil from conception and on, and I'm probably heretical. I'm going, really? Well, okay, the kid cried all night, or he did, but I have a problem. I have a bit of a problem with the, you know, of course they're so darn good on guilt. Of course I'm good on guilt myself anyway, but yeah, it is an issue. I look at these little, 6 pound or whatever, and going, really?
Well, I think the theological principle, has defined Christianity from the get-go. Um, and I think that we have either bought into that guilt, hook, line, and sinker, or we've tried to go a different way based on what we believe about who God is. And I mean, all of that. Do any of you watch Good Omens?
Yeah,
Have you seen the last one?
not yet.
So Good Omens is Neil Gaiman's story about uh, um, Crowley and say
Starts
him
with an A.
say his name for me. Aaron, no,
L
Aaron,
and
the angel.
yeah, the angel.
So Crawley is from the underworld, and then there's the angel, and the story goes way back to creation and to the birth of Jesus, etc. It's a funny story told this way. But this last piece, um, so we already watched the destruction, we already watched the apocalypse, this last piece is a little bit of a different story. And I would encourage I don't know if you could get the whole of it if just watching this last they put it kind of into a movie rather than into a series, so you can see the whole thing. But we have Crowley and we have the angel,
Yeah.
and
What's his name?
it'll come to me like in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So yes, this is going to be a spoiler, so some of you probably will never watch it. What happened? The story changes when these two characters make a different choice. When they choose the goodness of the world over their relationship. And because these two characters have a relationship. And they choose that. And then the story finishes in a very different way. And these two guys grow old together and are happy to be there. Um, uh, but it changed the whole story. And what I saw in the story then was love did absolutely win in this particular story. That no matter how the forces of darkness and evil wanted to take over the goodness of, I mean, this story is told in light and dark and black and white. You know who's good and who's evil.
Did you say that love takes over?
Love takes over. Love wins in the end here, and it's a wonderful representation of that happening, and that happening different from all of the plans of humanity. Right?
Of humanity.
I think so, of humanity. I mean, they have this conversation with God, and God gives them a choice, and the choice they make changes things. And love wins in the end.
Wins.
So
I wonder,
Annetta, about that, how does choice?
well, and that comes back to actually what Anne Wonke said, and now she's not here, but hopefully she can hear me. That whole idea of total depravity, right? That we're born into sin and we're totally hopeless and helpless is a hopeless perspective. It's helpless, right? We are helpless. And yet, when we believe in love, there is hope. There is a future. There is a chance, right? And that's why I think the decision is so important. And trust me, I grew up with the whole tulip thing. I understand it like to the nth degree because it's part of the Reformed traditions, which is very close to the Lutheran traditions. And parts of it sometimes make sense when you want to pinpoint evil on someone.
Yeah.
But when you step back, and even if you look at American history and the New Deal, how love gave hope, right? We can see how it changed and lifted so many out of poverty. And but if we have total depravity, there is no hope.
So let's follow that too. When we have total depravity, when that is the party line, because I don't see that in this story at all.
No.
But we have the story of a church who has taken that up and used it to exert power and control over people.
Exactly. It's about power and control.
Yeah.
But can we talk more because it kind of feeds right back into what Sharon started with is like, so here we're reading here and it says, oh, you're going to be wise if you eat from this tree. So God wants blind obedience. But then what did you say you read? They were taking the shortcut to wisdom.
Yeah.
Is that really what that was about?
Hmm.
What
Who
is
knows?
Peter End.
yeah.
I'm
Well,
confused because that's not what it says. It says, you can have this, and the God says you can't really eat this. I don't want you to have this. You have to do all these things this way, which is blind, and that doesn't fit with the story of God.
What did you say?
Yeah. That doesn't fit with the story of God.
Yeah,
Okay.
that if we're blind obedience, we just do it. We just do whatever, and we don't want wisdom. We don't want to understand. Why would we be having this Bible study if we didn't want to understand?
Good point.
well, and I mean, there are certainly, and I'm just going to speak from a Jewish perspective, there are Jews who believe that if you follow those 613 mitzvot, commandments, then you're good to go, But there are lots of Jews who claim to be following those 613 commandments. And I can't believe they're good to go. You know, does, and I won't even say Netanyahu because I really think Netanyahu is um, is a con artist. Um, but maybe Ben Gavir, who to me seems like the epitome of evil, but maybe, I mean, he is a very uh, observant Jew, and maybe he thinks he's doing what he's supposed to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to understand, particularly where these ultra religious are coming from. Just like it's hard for me to understand where ultra religious evangelical Christians are coming from. Um, and maybe they think they're following God's commandments, but what they're really looking for is power and control.
And it depends. I know several who really do believe that.
They believe what?
They believe that they're following God's commandment without wanting, maybe the wanting the power and control is behind the scenes, that they aren't aware of that being a part of it.
I think, and there's an element of Christianity that is taught to follow,
Oh, I know that. Yes, I
and
have
so
been
then
there.
they are the leader. They are following the leader, and they're not
Right. I
asking
get right.
these hard
Been,
questions, right?
been there, been there, seen that.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that's a
It's a problem.
so is that evil then for them to follow, or are they victims of evil?
I'm not
I don't
sure.
know. There's more questions here than ever. I read this and I was like, I read this passage and I was like, oh, I don't like this passage.
No, and I don't like the passage either. Right. I don't want it to go that way.
Right.
Who
Part of
decided that?
I
part
don't want the woman to be wrong for asking
Yeah.
questions. I'm a
Who
woman that
decided?
asks questions.
yeah. This is just full of questions on the nature of obedience. So I want to point to this in Enns and Byer's book. Obedience to God is the prerequisite for knowing good and evil. Well, I don't even like the word obedience. So, but so that's what Enns is saying is happening in this, that God is for, uh, asking for obedience, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I'm being even accurate in saying what that I think that's happening in here. And Adam and Eve are these naive, clearly naive, because they're the only people in this story. Um, So what I'm remembering Eugene Peterson's book about obedience, a long obedience,
Yeah.
A long and
Long road to obedience.
something like that. In this, but in the same direction is in that.
Yes.
So obedience is walking maybe with God and others in community, working at, um,
What?
choosing,
But what,
fixing the good.
but what is obedience? What
But
are we working towards?
Yes.
What is, is it obedience for me to blindly follow, or is it obedience
yeah,
for me to ask a question
don't
and be spurned for it?
Yeah. Okay. Mary Lou's put her hand up over here. Let's try. Let's let her.
don't. First of all, you can't follow anybody blindly. You have to discern. And so there's that, but I have also read about this particular passage that it wasn't that God didn't want us to have wisdom. It's back to they took it too fast.
Mm.
And they didn't have time to build and discern because it takes a lifetime to acquire wisdom.
Well, and that goes to the walking with God, in the same
Right.
direction. I mean, that book makes so much sense in its vision that it does take a lifetime, right? It isn't an overnight activity of I mean that's why we baptize. That's what we pray for. That's how we understand a journey of faith is that's what we do for our lifetimes. And in the midst of all of that, it gets really messy.
Yeah.
Sure.
They couldn't handle wisdom that fast. It's like people who become stars
Yeah.
because they're singers or whatever. It turns out they can't handle it and they go off the rails.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of this is about. They couldn't handle the wisdom, so they had to cover themselves.
Oh, that's a
I
good
struggle
point.
with that. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with failure, right? Failure is a lesson.
Says you.
I'm telling my students all the time, yeah, you totally messed this up, but you won't do that again. Let's fix that problem, right? Let's fix it. Let's move forward. And there's almost a lack of grace here from God, right? I mean, he's like, sorry guys, you're out. And that's also part of this story that's really
Vexing.
mad. It's vexing.
Well, okay, but isn't that what we do with our children? I mean, we don't want to give them everything for the rest of their lives. We want them to grow up. And one of the ways they grow up is leaving home. So there's that angle of maybe God wanted them to grow up.
So did God tell them to be disobedient then? This story just gets more difficult the more we talk about it, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it brings up every single question I think we have about free will, about theodicy, about the nature of God. Yeah, it brings up every single issue.
Well, and this comes back to this passage is used over and over in that whole theology of depravity, right?
Yeah, to control. Yeah.
Right. And so they're like, see, you can't trust yourself. God, you have to just blindly be obedient. And so I'm trying to read this passage from the view of love. Maybe Jane can help me. She had her hand.
Okay, Jane Forsberg is up here.
Okay. The only God is mentioned in the story, but the conversation is between this serpent and Eve. And one is saying, didn't God say this? And Eve is saying, no, God said that. And then she even elaborates a little bit.
Yep.
So is God just watching this conversation? And where's Adam?
Yeah,
Oh,
God
he's sleeping. He's
out of
taking
the
a nap.
that seems to be out of the picture because
Yeah.
and he walks with me and he talks with me thing happens after.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did God give free will and then suddenly jerk back? You've
Yes,
got to be
Yeah.
obedient.
it's a huge question.
Yeah.
It's like that happened, didn't it? Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
is the story in here? What are we supposed to learn from it?
Yeah.
We
Right.
just pull it out.
Am I supposed to say, I'm not going to ask any questions? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I'm
according
sorry.
to Augustine, what we learn from it is original sin.
Exactly.
By the way, the Western Church is the only one who buys into that. The Eastern Orthodox Church does not.
By the way, the Western Church, what?
Buys into original sin.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
And so, there is a piece of it that is designed, I think, to put women in their place.
Oh, yeah.
I have a
Oh,
question.
yeah, big time.
Yeah. Okay. Ann Wonky and then Sharon.
Who decided in the translation that it was the woman that got in trouble?
Yeah, right.
There you
I mean,
go.
come on, it's like, and I thought that, how come? And of course, from there comes everything that we've gotten controlled in.
Well, when we go back to Enns is helping us with the translations, what we have is this word that just means human. What we have really is human and second and the other human, right? That's the original words, human and the other human, right? Not assigned Adam and Eve as names, and then we get a hold of it and we assign genders to those two.
Yeah.
And of course, we're going to assign the one that isn't, the patriarchy gets the one who does everything right, and the other is the one who, gives into the darn serpent. Okay, Sharon was going to jump in. She might have already forgotten.
What Mary Lou was talking about with the concept of original sin in the Western Church being a way of putting women in their place. I'm quoting you poorly, Mary Lou, but I think it's a way of putting everybody in their place. I mean, men don't escape it
No.
except for the ones in power.
Creates a hierarchy.
Right.
That's right.
And that I think I mean the Eastern Church is not absolved from that kind of power because it's always a man up there with the magic words. And so I think, sort of the whole construct, and Enns talks about it, Enns and Bias talk about it in this book of the patriarchal nature of early Judaism. And that argument still goes on today as well. I mean, people like, I hate to keep bringing him up, but people like Ben Gavir, who subscribe to that sort of ultra-Orthodox way of interpreting Judaism. It's very hard to be Reform in Israel. I mean, they really are looked down on and by the hierarchy, who are all very Orthodox.
Sharon, I hate to interrupt, but I am ignorant on who this person is. Can you enlighten me on this Ben?
I can never remember he's a minister in Netanyahu's government, and
That's all I needed.
I think he really is evil.
Okay, that's what I just needed to know that.
I mean, you should look him up, Anne, because some of the things that he's pushed for are just
And I will probably spell the whole thing
unbelievable.
wrong.
So
He's a
let's,
Stephen Miller.
yeah, well, so let's go.
Yes.
Let's
We
go
haven't,
on.
we really haven't. I mean, we've kind of danced around a little bit, and again, we're not going to answer the question. We've asked it. Is there? I mean, you just said Sharon, he's evil.
I think he is.
And Jane jumps in with Stephen Miller is
Mhm.
evil. Even looks like a serpent. Okay, so, but
It can't fault his
He does.
looks.
what do we say about what can we say about the nature of evil?
That it possesses people.
Okay.
I mean, we can go back and we'll take someone neutral. We'll say Hitler. We all know that he was evil. He embodied evil. He trained people to be evil. He made Germany a tool for his evil, right? And so when we look at that, we can see how evil possesses people.
Yes.
But was there a possibility that he could have made different decisions?
Well, and also the people whose stories we hear that would say things like, I was only following orders. Okay. So what choice does that person have, right? He's gonna kill my family. He's gonna put me in I'm gonna get put in a concentration. I'm surely going to die, right? If I step out of line.
But people did make that
Well,
choice,
and people did,
that
and
did happen. And I mean,
and they did it.
remember my aunt telling me the story of
So
an
they
entire town, all the men getting shot, anybody over the age of 12. I mean,
right. So they made that choice fully knowing that they are signing their own death warrant and are still willing to do it. What makes that happen?
I don't know.
And so that's where I go back to this silly story, Good Omens, in that these two people knew full well that their lives would end when they make this particular choice. The lives they have been leading will end when they make this
Two
particular.
people. Are you meaning Adam and Eve?
No, I'm talking about this silly story that I watch and read on TV. So what we see then is a different story after they made that choice. And what I wonder about is that the people who stand up and say, no, I'm not going to follow orders. I'm not going to just follow along with you. And I know I am going to die because of it. See a different story.
Their heads are up above the water and they're getting shot at. But then there are the people who keep their heads down, but they're not obeying. They're just keeping like out of the way, out of the way. What is that? Is that the past?
Degrees of
Yes.
Like the people who lived in the towns where Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen and all the other, they knew.
They knew.
It's so easy to look backwards and judge, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
And I think that.
Yeah.
So I wrote down while you were speaking, Kathy, how do we teach people to choose bravery, to choose kindness, to choose goodness, to choose righteousness, rather than
to choose love?
Yes,
to choose love,
to be
rather than to lift up power and evil, which is a lot of what we're seeing today. Is people want power. People want billions of dollars so
Right.
they can control us.
Yes.
Because we're all basic guys, we're all peons. Sorry.
Yeah, none of us matter. Okay, Ann Wonky.
No, I just as a side effect, going along with what you said with the choosing, I have been looking, I'm on a Catholic page on Facebook, but they have been sharing stories of people who chose to help the Jewish people, knowing they would die. And several were nuns. One was a priest I read just recently. And the people knew the hierarchy, the Hitler's hierarchy, they knew about him, but they could never quite, they never could do anything because they were hiding, and every time they came, everything looked normal. But the stories, and I wonder if maybe part of it is inspiration from reading, from learning about those who have made the choice for love.
I think it's
We're seeing it in Minneapolis right now, right? They're still helping people.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it at that detention center in New Jersey where people are protesting and saying, you cannot do this. There are women who've had miscarriages and never received medical attention. So we're seeing that bravery, but we're not advertising. So yes, Anne, we should be telling people the good that we're doing.
Anyway, they're really wonderful to read, to be reading about, even though they were taking place before I was born,
But they're happening, but they're still happening today.
Yes, they are.
So
Along obedience in the same direction.
Yes.
That's it.
I have got to stop donating books.
Paula.
I'm sorry, I donated them to the
I have two things. First of all, the person who comes to mind in this story, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who, well, we know what happened to him, but also someone who maybe was inherently evil, but did something good, Oscar Schindler.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. And the other thing I wanted to say is when we decided on this study for the next few weeks, I decided I'm going to reread the Screw Tape Letters.
Yeah. Yes.
And I just, if you haven't read it, I love this one thing. It says, it's Wormwood. It's the senior devil talking to his on the ground tempter.
Yeah.
But he's saying instead of advising Wormwood to use overt, spectacular evils, Screwtape counsels him to rely on subtle distractions, cognitive biases, and emotional manipulation. He said the safest road to hell is the gradual one, a gentle slope without sudden turns. So it's like you're being seduced, lulled,
Yes.
and it's almost like by the time you realize what's going on, it's like, it's too late. And some people can pull themselves out and some can't.
That's thank you.
Yeah.
That's a good reminder. Maybe we pick that book back up and look at it.
Well, I downloaded it on Audible and it's only 3 hours. And,
I think I have it on my Audible actually too.
Yeah, I know where to get it too.
No, that's great. Okay, who said so? Oh, go ahead.
I did. So talking about what's happening right now. There's Senator Andy Kim, who I think is just a really decent guy. I mean, he was cleaning up the Capitol the night of January 6th because he just didn't know what else to do. And that to me speaks of someone who does good in the face of evil because they just don't know what else to do but good. And then there's Stephen Miller, whose family came here because they were fleeing the Holocaust at a time when not that many people were being let into this country. He's the same generation removed as I am. My grandparents did not come here because they were looking for a better life. They came well before Miller's family. They were fleeing pogroms.
Mhm.
They were very wealthy in Lithuania, but they thought they were going to end up dead.
Mhm.
And so they came here. I can't imagine denying that opportunity to other people.
Yeah.
And yet, Stephen Miller has
Mhm.
created an entire framework
Yes.
that not only denies that opportunity to other people, but actively
Mhm.
pursues them in ways that are so opposed to any goodness. I mean, I don't understand it.
Mm-mm.
Why would somebody who had such a similar background to me make that choice? I
Yeah.
I can't get it.
Mhm.
I
Hmm.
mean, I can sort of see how someone whose family's been here for eons just doesn't, for want of a better phrase, know any better. But Stephen Miller knows better, or
Hmm.
Stephen Miller should know better.
Mhm.
And the argument against would be, uh, legal, right? It's the legal argument. Well, people who come here legally are welcome. I mean, that's the argument that people will make.
So
And
you change the
but
rules, though. They keep changing the
well,
rules.
they do that. And yet, when Sharon's family came, when Stephen Miller's family came, they didn't come legally. They came here hoping for a country that will accept them and help them toward a way to be productive citizens in this country.
A way to be alive.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that is the case we have in for so many people right now is countries that from which people are coming who, if they stay, they will be killed. And yes, exactly. Exactly.
What's next week?
The nature of evil. What is it about, huh?
Yeah.
So
I want
Sharon,
to say thank you for having a morning where I'm just more confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
exactly.
But I think it has to be talked about. I think sometimes we read these passages and then we move on.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
appreciate that we dig deep and
Yeah,
even though
we
I
need to
still
take
don't like
time.
this passage, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah. Wonder about this one.
So-
So, Exodus 5. It does say, or selections from Exodus chapters 5, 7 through 14. So Sharon will send that all out, but so you can
We'll see
you
you
can get
next week.
started on Exodus. Sharon, do you have the capacity to compile questions as we go along here? I mean,
I'd have to take notes.
I can send you the ones that I asked because I actually wrote them down.
And I have the ones that I asked,
Okay,
but
so why don't we compile those also as because what we want also is to see if we can see this arc here. Can we see this pattern developing for discerning evil in the world? Maybe that'll help by the time we finish week 6, we might have a little bit of a clue of how to answer this question. I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know. So I'll send you the questions I came up with, Sharon, and we'll just kind of keep compiling
okay.
so that
Yeah, and then I mean, if I send out the list of questions that Kathy and I both had, you guys can
keep adding.
chime in with questions you had,
Mhm.
and I'll just keep adding to the list.
Because clearly we have way more questions than we have answers here. So,
Okay, thank
And
you.
Paula, post about that movie that Father TJ always talks about.
Of gods and men.
Yeah.
Oh, that's old.
Oh, but
Yes.
it's a perfect movie to watch while we're doing this.
okay, good. Thank you. That'd be great.
Oh, it'll break your heart, but it's true.
Okay.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
See you soon. Paula, I'll see you Sunday, guys. Take
Take
care.
care, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
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 Oh no, why